Ever looked in the mirror and thought, I'd make a damn fine drag king? Welcome to Kings of Joy, the Drag King podcast where gender isn't something to fear, it's something to play with. I'm Danica Lani, the King Coach, mentor to over 150 first-time drag kings, and I'm taking you backstage into the unruly, magical world of drag king transformation. If you're craving confidence, community, and a crew that gets it, you just found your crown. Connect with us on Instagram at Kings of Joy for behind-the-scenes content and updates. We'd love to hear from you.
Came off stage, I was just buzzing. Like I felt like my whole body was like humming.
Yeah.
For a whole week, I was just on this, high.
Yeah, totally.
And that's when I messaged you, of course, and I said, I can't not do this again.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember
When's
your
the next
words
gig?
were, I'm hooked.
Yeah, I was. It was like a drug. It was like, this is what I need. Like,
At Kings of Joy, we acknowledge and pay our respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, work and play. I pay my respects to elders, past and present, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. In this episode, I've had the privilege of speaking with Becks, aka Jim Junkie. Becks is a director and producer with a focus on new writing and queer works. Becks performs as drag king Jim Junkie on the Sydney drag king scene and was crowned King of Kings at the 2021 Sydney Mardi Gras Heaps Gay drag king competition. They've since performed at Heaps Gay, Queers of Joy, The Drag Kings, The Bearded Tit, many other places, and they developed a 60-minute solo drag king show within a 2022 residency at Brand X. Welcome, Becks, aka Jim Junkie, to the Kings of Joy podcast show. Thanks for being here.
thanks for having me. And what a great studio. I love it.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
feel like I'm in a New York loft apartment, not the streets of Annandale. So yeah, it's transformative.
Streets of Annandale.
Yeah.
So good. Just before we started, we were reminiscing on some banana themes that I know is if you're a follower of Jim Junkie, which you should be, you will know that there's a bit of a banana theme to some of Jim's performances. What's that jingle again? How does it go?
Well, look, I don't know what we can do with copyright. But no,
Make those bodies sing.
Make those bodies sing.
I liked that because you took the low and I took the high.
Yeah, harmonised.
That was good. Yeah. We didn't even rehearse that.
No, I know. We just
Amazing.
knew.
So good.
Yeah.
So tell me, let's start with your origin story. Like, what got you into drag kinging? Like, why did you want to become a drag king?
Well, it's kind of a two-part story. And the first kind of was back in London. So I lived in London for a couple of years. I did the typical Aussie thing, went over there. I was a resident artist at the Barbican for a year, which was a really great experience. And then I joined the Young Vic Directors Network, which is a great program for any emerging young directors. And through that, they had a workshop with, I think the company was called Milk Presents, which I think is still going, with Leo Skilbeck, who does all these amazing kind of drag king theatre shows. So there was a show that came out here a few years ago at the Seymour Centre called Joan. And so Leo kind of hosted a bunch of workshops where you got to, they were like, this is how I make a play with drag kings, and this is the first time I'd heard of a drag king, so it wasn't quite grasping in my head yet. But we did get to do some things like, we put this is where we learned that if you grab a bra and you fold it, you can use the cup to kind of create that bulge, that package in your pants.
Oh,
and
so good.
Yeah.
I mean, we've used that so many times in coaching first-time drag kings, right?
Totally. And and when the minute I did that, this just confidence rushed through me. Like it just felt like it, cracked on my head and just dripped down through me. And then the workshop facilitator was like, yeah, now go do what you want to do in this room. And I just suddenly felt like I could do anything. I was like, I could push over this chair and no one would care. In fact, I'm going to do that. And I just pushed it over, and so it felt so empowering. And that was my little taster, my little entree of drag kings. But I couldn't see that going anywhere. That was in a contained, safe space. And then when I got back to Sydney, I had to leave because my visa ended, and I was really brokenhearted because London to me felt like the place that I could be me. It felt like my soul city. And then I came back here, Sydney, to where a place I grew up in. It felt very conservative, risk adverse, and I didn't feel like I could be queer in Sydney.
Really?
Yeah. And so, because I just, I was watching all these people who I grew up with. They were doing the typical conveyor belt thing of you go to uni, you stay friends with the friends that you went through high school with, and you still live in the Hills District, and you marry someone from down the road, and and then you continue on. That's the conveyor belt of life. And so I wasn't doing that, and I couldn't see anything else happening. I couldn't, and there was a bit of queer stuff happening, but it wasn't, it didn't feel like me. It felt like a lot of gay men, a lot of partying, a lot of drugs and alcohol, which, that's people's thing, and that's fine. But it wasn't me.
Yes.
And so I was like, I just don't think that there's space for me here in this city. And so I really thought that Sydney would just be a pit stop, and then I'd move to somewhere else. I'd find another country that I could go to, or another city that I could feel and, explore. But then I started to find some people. I joined the Flying Bats Football Club, which is really great.
Shout out to the best, quick lesbian queer club.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest one in the Southern Hemisphere.
Is it?
I've been told.
Great.
So, and then I was at work one day and I got this Facebook message from one of the players who, I'd gone and seen their comedy shows, and, I knew that they were quite fun to be with. And then I got this weird Facebook message being like, hey, can I talk to you for a sec? And I was like, oh, this is a bit weird. But I thought maybe they're doing a theatre show or something. I don't know. Yeah. And they said, I'm starting this new night. It's called Quiz of Joy. And do you know what a drag king is? And I said, yeah, no, I know what a drag king is, because I did this workshop. And they were like, so I hear you do theatre. Would you want to perform in a group? We'll do it as a group. And I remember there was this split second. It wasn't a hesitation, but it was just like this weird pause, like this breath. And then I said, absolutely. So I had no hesitation in doing it, but I look back at that moment and it was like a real sliding doors. Like it was like in that one, yes, so much has come from that. So yeah.
Absolutely. And we have my spouse Chris to thank
for
you.
That. Yeah, so that right. person that texted me, that person was Chris, who is the host and producer and the founder of Quiz of Joy, and Chase Cox, and now a colleague who I perform with, and constantly see their shows and their work, and we make theatre together now, and and so from that I joined the program. It was the first ever Kings of Joy.
It was the first group that we'd ever had, and Chris had said to me, I'm starting this show, Quiz of Joy. It's to platform trans and gender diverse artists.
Yeah.
Because they'd just gone through their gender journey. We got married as lesbians, and they went on a gender journey after we got married, came out as non-binary and trans masc.
Yeah.
And they were like, we had so much fun meeting, me and Chris, in a drag king crew and a group. That's how we met. They were like, well, we should give that away to other people, so they can have that experience. And Danica, you can choreograph something, can't you? Like, I'll get a couple of people together.
Yeah,
I know some people from soccer and football. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and there we are. And then you were in the very first group of Kings of Joy.
Yeah.
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 So what was that experience like?
It was incredible. It was creative, and we were just coming out of COVID, so we did all of our rehearsals online. And then when we got together to do the performance and I came off stage, I was just buzzing. Like I felt like my whole body was like humming.
Yeah.
And I realized I hadn't had a chance to, I'd never even entertained the idea that I could be a performer. I always thought I would be the producer or the director behind the scenes. I think someone in year 9 told me that, you're more of a behind the scenes kind of person.
Boo. We wouldn't have had Jim Junkie if you'd stayed true to that.
No. And so I hadn't really, I thought, after uni that would be it. You chose your path and that was it. I wouldn't get a chance to come back and perform, and I just thought it was I thought it was self-indulgent to perform, but getting to perform, it was just so fulfilling. And, you know, like I said, I came off stage and I was buzzing, and for a whole week I was just on this, you know, high.
Yeah, totally.
And that's when I messaged you, of course, and I said, I can't not do this again.
Yeah. I remember
When's
your
the next
words
gig?
were, I'm hooked.
Yeah, I was. It was like a drug. It was like, this is what I need. Like,
Yeah.
and I think also I had this excitement before going on stage. I didn't have this fear of, oh, what are people going to think, that kind of thing. And people responded so well to it as well. And every time at Quiz of Joy, the crowd loves it.
Yeah.
And people get really behind it and so support. And I felt safe to do it in a group as well. You know, it's not this like solo thing with all this pressure. And it was really fun. In the lead up, I went to friends' houses and we'd experiment with costumes, and they'd give like tips like, oh, what about this? And I'd give them sneak peeks of the choreography, and they responded so well to it as well. And that was also when I started to experiment with like the shapes, and I was just experimenting. Blindly, I didn't realize that what I was actually doing was kind of leading, you know, and we can talk about this later, but like the different shapes of your body that you need to make when you don't need to, but help you when you're performing as a drag king when you've got an AFAB body.
Yes.
And it felt so empowering as well. Like I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh, you know, when I put this padding on my shoulders with, you know, this makeshift pair of stockings and pillow stuffing. And then I, you know, on the night, I don't know why, but I just suddenly had this urge to tape my arms and my wrists, which I still do to this day. That's part of Jim's look. And it wasn't until we did a workshop with Hugo Girl that I realized that, you know, that is also part of that helps create part of the shape. It draws the eye to the right spots, and it creates the shape that you want to, if you want to create a more masculine kind of look, that does help. So I was just kind of drawn to doing these different practices for drag king, and that in itself was also creative and fun, and I wanted to do it. It wasn't, oh, got to do makeup. Oh, God. I wanted to experiment with it.
Yeah. And it's about creating that masculine silhouette, isn't
Totally.
it? That shape that is part of the creating a persona and leaning into your masculinity, but having that in part of your presentation and your costume. So, you know, this journey of Kings of Joy is so much about gender.
Yes.
And gender exploration, right?
Totally.
And what was that like for you?
It was amazing. And but it felt me as well. I don't know how to describe it. Like when I tried to play masculine roles in the past, particularly in high school, I never got a good response. And we remember watching the boys in the school next door to us, and we go see their plays, they come to see ours, and I'd watch them and they'd get such a good response. And sometimes it felt like I'd try and do the exact same thing, and I got really confused as to why I wasn't being received by the audience in the same way. And so I'm very interested in how audiences respond to particularly comedy with masculine bodies as opposed to feminine bodies. And it's almost like, oh, you know, we like to see masculine identities play with comedy and not feminine identities play with comedy.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a bit of a tangent. But going back to what you said about, you know, what was it like to explore my gender, that was incredibly freeing, and it felt like a safe space to do so. It felt like I was, you know, and it was encouraged. It was celebrated. It was accepted. And this is, you know, you can dip your toe in a little bit and you can, I'm going to try this bit, you know, and it's such a whole spectrum of different, that, you know, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You know, obviously there's some, you know, guidelines and rules, but it was really freeing. Yeah.
So good. It was so good to witness that journey, you know, for you. And so what happened afterwards? You called me and you were like, I'm hooked.
Yes.
I want to go solo. Like, let's do this. I want to continue.
Yeah.
What was the journey? What's it been the journey for Jim?
Oh gosh,
Jim Junkie since then?
It's coming. It's just been 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So, well, I guess the next big thing, you know, we did the Butch fashion show
that's right.
Yeah, which was really fun. And again, it was just like a really fun community thing as part of Mardi Gras, and it was great fun. And that's when I really started to play with the Jim persona and his backstory. I think I remember you and I backstage were just messing around, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm a PT, and you know, I'm doing a certificate too in personal training and wellness, like
at Petersham
at
TAFE.
Petersham TAFE, yeah. So that's where that started to explore. But then right after I messaged you, I saw that there was this competition with Heaps Gay as part of Mardi Gras, and it was the Heaps Gay King of Kings comp. And they had 3 categories. So they had baby kings. No, was it first timers?
Yeah.
So first time you're doing a solo performance.
Right.
Baby kings, so you've been doing it for about a year, and then there's like established kings. So, people have been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And I remember calling you and saying, "Oh, I think I want to enter this. I have no idea what to do. Please help."
Yeah.
But you choreograph, you helped me choreograph that routine, and Jim just kept growing and growing, and so I think we did it in 4 weeks again. That
routine development and the development of the piece was about a Jim Junkie entering a competition himself, wasn't it?
Oh, like I know. I think he went to. We kept it simple. We kept it really simple. That it's Jim. He's entering the gym. He thinks he sees someone he knows, and that kind of fails. And then he goes to lift a weight, but there's a tiny dumbbell hidden behind it. And then he just does a stretch and he pulls his groin, and then he freaks out and he calls his mum to pick him up. So really, really, really simple, straightforward thing. And it was to turn down to what?
That's right.
And but we did some theatrics. Like I think we got some resin and
the chalk.
Where you clap your hands and it looked really great on stage.
It did,
and I think. And I was, whilst it was still COVID and I was working from home, but you would come to my apartment 2 to 3 times a week at like 7 a.m. You would come, and you'd come sometimes with your bone broth, and you'd be like, let's do it. And we'd do an hour of rehearsals, and then I'd shower and log on to my work. So, but it was so good because those constant rehearsals and refining, that's when I got some of the, I feel like the character or persona came out. And with the competition they also had quite a clear criteria of like there needs to be a moment of surprise and this kind of, and we made sure we kept to that checklist anyway. And then of course we entered it, and I was so nervous. I don't think I've been that nervous. And I remember the whole day I was just rehearsing, and I, did some meditation. I was like performance coaching myself to get to the, and then I did it, and I won the first timers.
Yes,
and
you did.
I did, and I was like, that's it for me. It was, I think it was February, and I was like, well, that's my year. That's so great.
Yeah.
I didn't even entertain the idea that I might be up to win. There was an award for each category, best in each category. And then there's the all-time King of Kings, and that's done by audience vote. So the categories were awarded by the judges, and some very established kings, which is really exciting. But I didn't entertain the idea I'd be ever up for the audience award of King of Kings, because there were some incredible kings there. There was Gaelius, Woody, like
Malcolm X.
There was George Dykle, some really incredible kings. And so I was like, there's no way. And then I just remember standing there on the stage, and they put it up on the screen, and I think I was the last person to look at that screen. And there it was, Jim Junkie won the audience vote. So yeah,
we were in the audience. We were like screaming, jumping up, like so proud, so proud. It was a great moment.
It was really
very fulfilling.
Yeah.
So Jim has really developed. Tell us a little bit about Jim. Who is he? Like, let's introduce Jim.
Oh, yeah. And when I talk about him, I feel really protective of him. Like, I know he's me, but I also look at him like he's like a little brother. But, he does go to TAFE. His dream is to be a personal trainer. He's not trained there yet, and he's trying to start alongside his TAFE course, he's trying to start his own fitness influencer kind of brand. He's probably got about 200 followers. And then he still lives at home. You know, he grew up in the inner west, but still lives at home with his mum, dad, and his 3 brothers. They all work for the family business,
Okay.
which is a hairdressing service. And Jim's dad has said that, he doesn't have he's not manly enough to work the reception desk. So doesn't have the balls to take on that role. So it's his dream to eventually work for the family business. But until then, you know, he's just a simple guy. He loves his mum, loves his brothers, loves his mate Tyson, who never shows up.
Oh, best mate
Yeah,
Tyson.
best mate Tyson. Yeah,
Never texts back.
never texts back. That doesn't matter because Jim texts him. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How did you come up with this whole? That's a very developed backstory. That's a very developed drag king persona, which you'd expect after 5 years. But yeah, how did you come up with that?
Well, it did start with the Kings of Joy program, and I was toying with some ideas. I think I had a COVID Marshall kind of
that's right,
like persona in mind, and I think you wisely said, you know, that might date a bit.
Thank God it did.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But at the time I was heavily into I was still going to the gym, which I loved. Like I found some really great communities there and very supportive of my gender identity, which is great. But I did notice that there was a particular type of person coming to the gym. It was always this young guy. He would be about 20, 21, and he'd rock up in these you could tell they're like brand new, quite expensive gym gear.
Right.
And he'd always hang around like the really buff guys, the ones that lift a lot. And what I love about the heavy lifters is that they're quite sensitive, and they would say, I hate cardio. It just really scares me, you know. And that's the best thing about, because I was doing CrossFit, and that's the best thing about CrossFit.
Love
is that
CrossFit.
they, you know, everyone is good at something and everyone's not so good at something. So and so these lifting guys, they were terrified of cardio, but this young guy would always hang around them and he'd be like, you got it, yeah. But if it came for him to lift, he'd be like, I'm injured, I'm cool.
Yeah.
And this type of guy would show up for a couple of weeks and then you never see them again. And then you'd see a very similar kind of person show up a few weeks later and rinse and repeat. And it took me a while to realize that these guys, they're actually just looking for friends, you know? And isn't it weird that we go to these gym spaces that are meant to be safe, they're meant to be body positive, but they're actually they're so intimidating. And they're so, particularly for people, and particularly for young, you know, masculine people, like people who want, they feel like they have to be performative in order to fit in.
Right.
And I felt so sorry for them once I realized that. And I was like, and that's the response I get a lot with people when I talk about Jim. They're like, he's just, he doesn't quite hit it, but he's trying.
He's trying.
Yeah.
And we love Jim. Like we fall in love with Jim. Jim's so endearing.
Totally.
And we discovered way more about Jim when you went ahead and did your residency at Brand X and created a show. Yeah.
So I think it was about a year or two into the Jim journey, I applied for a residency at Brand X, which is an incredible space in Sydney, which, you know, has all these great rehearsal space. We've used them a lot, you know, and they had a residency program where you got to develop an idea for a week and present it for 2 nights. And that's where I had this Jim Junkie solo show, and we called it Jim Junkie Max Potential. And so we spent a week in rehearsals just kind of developing this script of like that really wanted to explore toxic positivity.
Yes.
And the expectations around gym culture and fitness influencing, which is, I'm just so fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So that was something that we kind of really unpacked. And yes, like that's where we really created this whole world of Jim, and how, you know, the story is that he's going for this weightlifting competition and he's like hyping himself up, and this is what I do and this is how I get in the zone, and then he gets a text or like a comment on one of his videos on Instagram calling him a fake, and how he responds to that.
Yes.
So yeah.
I mean, he's very relatable. I remember watching the show, sitting next to a complete stranger, but a cis guy who was like crying with laughter, because he was so relating to, I know that guy, that guy's me, you know, like so
or
relatable.
People like, he's like my brother. Or I did a photo shoot with this photographer, and we went around to the Haberfield Rowers Club. There's this outdoor gym area, and I was dressed up as Jim, muscles and everything, and I was doing these like poses that I'd seen gym bros do, and this guy was next to me doing his regular workouts, and I was like, oh, sorry, move out of your way, like a bit self-conscious. And he's like, it's so real, it's so spot on, like you have no idea how like real it looks. So that to me was like the ultimate, you've passed.
Yeah. When another gym bro acknowledges
it
you
says
like that,
you've got it on the
nailed
head.
it. Nailed it. So good.
Yeah. And for him to respond positively, like he doesn't feel like I'm making fun of them, because I certainly don't want to make fun of them.
Yep.
And I want to, explore this vulnerable side of them. People are like, oh, yeah, people say, I know Jim. And so I want them to have like this experience of, oh, this is what they might be exploring.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And you've gone from strength to strength. I mean, we had Max Potential, your solo show.
Yep.
And then we got to step into theatre again with They Will Be Kings.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
So, oh gosh, it would be just over a year now. So Kaz Therese, an incredible theatre maker who I had seen, whose work I'd had seen before, they went through the program, the Kings of Joy program, and then I think that sparked in them this idea, and they approached you, and then you said, oh, well, I know a couple of people who might be good for this, and so you brought me on board as well. But essentially it was this idea of another theatre show where we look at all of our personal journeys coming to being a drag king, and also what exploring finding masculinity and what experience that has been for all of us as well, and also celebrating positive masculinity, because there are some positive aspects to it. I don't think that we should it should be hated or anything like that. I know that there are toxic forms, but there are also toxic forms of femininity. So
there are.
There's light and shade to most things.
Yes.
So, and that was really cool. So we developed that for a good couple of months, a lot of hot rehearsal rooms.
Yes.
Yeah. I did spend a week at Critical Path, and then we did a sell-out season at Qtopia.
Yes.
And am I allowed to announce that we're coming back for 2?
We
are.
are.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Mardi Gras coming in 2026, we've got a 2-week season that we're hoping to sell out as well. So
absolutely,
yeah, we'll be returning.
Yes, and lots of people missed out last time. So,
they did, yeah.
They'll be keen to come see They Will Be Kings.
Yep.
Yeah, in February. So, and you've become an icon really in the drag king scene. You inspire a lot of other drag kings. You've been an assistant coach as well in the Kings of Joy programs. What would you say to an aspiring drag king who might be listening?
I would say start. Like you haven't, you learn so much from doing. So just start, and even if it's in your bedroom, putting on a little mustache or something like that, like just start, because it is so free. And the more you practice and the more experiment, you'll figure out what is you and what is aligned to you. And there are so many great resources out there. Like when I started, I think there was the one Hugo girl makeup tutorial. And even then I was like, oh my God, when they were like, it's going to take about an hour. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But
it takes time.
although nowadays I do take about an hour to do my makeup.
Yes.
But yeah, there are some incredible resources out there, which you've got some yourself too,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a free resource for aspiring drag kings who are like, I don't know where to start. Like, where do I start?
Yeah.
Some people start with their name. Some people start with their look.
Yeah.
And so there's different ways in, but I've got a free resource that you can find called Claim Your Drag King Name. And so it's about starting with your name. And using examples from the Kings of Joy community for different names. You could do something that's punny. You could do something that's like takes off an already existing name.
Totally.
You could use alliteration like you've done, Jim Junkie with the JJ.
Yep.
So it's a really good resource that you can download.
Totally.
And get started on your drag king
I still
journey.
go to some of those, like just as reference, or like your makeup stuff as well. Like, or it is really good. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a lot of articles now, like
so
on
many,
topics,
so
like
many.
because there's 4 pillars you got to get good at as a drag king. There's performance, which involves your, persona and your backstory, as well as your masculine energy and presence on stage.
Yep.
Costuming.
Yes. Choreography.
Yes.
And makeup.
Yeah,
makeup
takes a lot of practice.
It does take a lot of practice.
Speaking of which, I might need to ask my producer here to pass us I got a little joy segment here.
Oh, yeah.
For a little moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, lovely. Okay, what have I got here? We've got some 1920s party moustaches. I thought I'd ask Jim.
Look, even people
which one he would
people
choose.
do bring these to Kings of Joy when they're doing the program, just as like a gateway to facial hair. I paint my facial hair on just because I like the way that it looks and I feel more comfortable with it, and I get terrified that something's going to fall off. But I have seen a lot of people bring these to. This is a bit of ASMR.
Opening the packet.
Unwrapping,
unboxing moustaches.
Unboxing moustache, yeah.
So
I mean, I love a bit of a handlebar.
Oh, Jim is going for the handlebar.
Yeah. Oh, they're
They're stapled on, and then
go on,
Dario.
We're going to see. I think there's a couple of Dario kind of esque ones. Yeah, I do. But yeah, these are a great way to start looking and experimenting with what feels comfortable and what kind of shapes you might like.
Yeah, it's a good thing to study, facial hair and
totally.
How it works.
Also, Instagram is such a great resource in terms of makeup looks, just for inspiration. Just
Jim is applying his moustache, and oh god, it hurts when you pull it off.
God, it does. Yeah,
but also never
pull your tape off.
Yeah, never take. You bind, right? You use binding tape.
I do bind. Yeah, I love. I do. I love it. It does. It is very freeing when I bind. Yeah. Yeah, it's very freeing when I bind, and so I do bind, but I've had a couple of binding injuries, so I did I did an 8-hour gig as part of Sydney World Pride, and I think I was just desperate I think I did it just a little bit too tight, and on the way home I just kind of like tore it off, and
you have to be careful.
You got to be careful.
You have to take it slowly. Apply coconut oil to help break down
I always
the
do it in
enzyme.
the shower now, just to let it help wet the tape as well. But it can be so uncomfortable taking it off, and sometimes and I have had cases where I think I've done it too tight, and I've gotten headaches because I haven't been able to breathe properly, and so I would say practice binding really safely.
Yeah.
And also, you don't have to. If you don't want to, you don't have to bind. There are other ways. You can wear a binder, you can wear a sports bra, or you just don't have to. Yeah. I know a lot of kings who just, don't want to, and that's fine, and that's
you really don't.
Yeah, and going back to the 4 pillars, there are very few hard and fast rules that must be adhered to when it comes to drag kings.
Yeah.
And binding is not one of them.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, I've only discovered 2 rules in being a drag king.
Go on.
The number 1 rule is don't do anything racially problematic on stage.
100%. Yep.
Which is why I coach people in creating a persona, not a character.
Yeah.
A persona is you draw on your own rich cultural heritage so that you avoid any cultural appropriation. Yep. That's for the white people out there. We need to remind ourselves and really take note of how we represent ourselves.
I always say it's like if I turn the masculinity volume up on me, you'd get Jim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a larger than life version of yourself.
Totally.
So number 1, don't do anything racially problematic on stage.
Yep.
Number 2, you can have a dick, just don't be a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't do representations of toxic masculinity on stage because people have had enough of that in their lives. They don't need to see that on a queer stage. Queer audiences don't need to see that.
No, and I know there was an era that people did explore the treatment that they received as AFAB people through drag kings, and they kind of explored their, abuses and that. But I think that we're beyond that now. I think, we don't want to put any stage time to it.
That's right. I think that's good as a therapeutic process.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
But not on stage.
No.
So, And lastly, Jim, what would you say if you had a magic wand, what would a thriving drag king scene look like in Jim's world?
I think, in Sydney or just in general?
Come on, let's go Sydney, then global. Let's go global. Come on.
Right. We'll start in Sydney. I think that there would be, I look at spaces where I think that there is a thriving drag king scene. I think London. Weirdly, there are parts of New Zealand. No, not weirdly. Of course there are. Because New Zealand is an incredible place.
Aotearoa is amazing.
Yeah, incredible. And then there are some phenomenal kings there. I think, this could be controversial, but I do think that Melbourne is really amplifying
Absolutely.
up. I'm
Agreed.
seeing a lot of great kings, Justin Talika,
Yep.
Bruno Celsus. Like, there's so many really incredible kings down there.
Yes.
I wish I could name, like,
Yeah,
I can't name
Pip
them all.
Stash? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pip's great.
So many of them are down there now. Justin Cider, like, they're incredible. Yeah, so there's
Justin Cider.
yeah. So, but what I'm seeing is there's multiple king nights a week, and they're regular.
Yeah.
But I also want to see not only just regular nights, but I want to see like producers and venues supporting them, like providing safe spaces, providing accessible spaces, accessible tickets, and really supporting the artists. I know that we go through a lot of challenges just even trying to get a venue, but having a venue that supports the artists, that's what I want to see. Regular audiences, but also audiences that, we're starting Bois Night Out, which
We've launched Bois Night Out. Regular.
That's our response. We didn't have a regular drag king night. Here it is.
Yes.
But and we had some audiences who came up from Canberra, and they weren't coming for Bois Night Out, but they searched Sydney and Queer Sydney. That's what they searched on Instagram. They found Bois Night Out. They came. They loved it. They won free tickets to the next show. So
Yes.
So new audiences and returning audiences, and also seeing big festivals like Sydney Festival, Mardi Gras, like really understand the importance of drag kings and what audiences they can bring to their festivals.
Yes.
And so that to me what Sydney would look like. And then maybe we start to see them. I'm not saying that I want drag kings to be in the main stage, but it's just as much opportunity as queens. Now, we're not there yet, and that's okay because, queens have been – I know drag kings have been around just as long as queens, but that's they're two very different things. You can have peanut butter and you can have Vegemite. Like, they can exist in the same space.
Yes.
They can exist on the same piece of toast. But that doesn't mean that they're the same. So I don't think we should compare ourselves to drag queens.
Agreed.
But I think that it would be good to see, people respond to kings in the same ways they respond to queens, like really positively enjoying it, seeing it regularly. I saw a queen on I think it was like a optometrist advertisement, Specsavers or something like that. Well, I want to see king there as well. I want to see them in ads. I want to see them on TV. I want to see them, in our everyday. I want drag kings. We were watching Bake Off the other day, and they've got the first time they've got a drag king on Great British Bake Off.
What?
Yeah.
Stellar.
So incredible. So that to me would be what a thriving drag king scene would look like.
Amazing. I love this conversation. We could talk for hours,
We could.
but it is a little bit hard when the
it is quite
on.
like
it makes it hard to actually speak properly.
Yeah.
But it looks good.
It does. Good.
It looks good. I feel like Jim Bro is in the house and he's like next level. He's grown up a bit.
Yep. Love you now,
Jim.
Dad.
Yeah. Shout out to our dads.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love you, Dad.
I love you, Dad.
Yeah.
So, and Jim and Dario have done some duos together, which is fun too. So
more of that, please.
Yes, you can see us at Bois Night Out on the 19th of December at the Factory Theatre.
Christmas special.
Coming your way. So we've got a special surprise in a box.
What will it be?
What will it be? Exactly.
You got to come to find out.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank
Becks,
you.
aka Jim Junkie, for being here and
Anytime.
sharing your incredible story, incredible journey as a drag king. Onwards and upwards, I say.
The only way.
Love it.
Love it. Thanks.
Welcome to the kingdom, pull up a chair. Real kings, real stories, we go there. From debut to crew, the journey we're making, this is Kings of Joy. Here's the crown you're claiming. Welcome to the kingdom. Real kings, we go there. The journey to the kingdom. This is Kings of Joy, here's the crown, Welcome to the kingdom. Real kings, from debut to crew, the journey we're making, this is Kings of Joy, here's the crown you're claiming.